Hey, how are ya?
Well, I'm gonna honestly say exhausted. Well, better than yesterday because we had a wedding. Well, we got the secret of print on Thursday, so I was up really late. Friday we had a wedding, got to bed at 4. Saturday we had a wedding, got to bed at 4. So yesterday, needless to say, I was pretty burnt. And then today I'm feeling a lot. I'm feeling more like myself now. So
Well,
I'm good.
good, good, good. That's
But
good.
yeah, and how are you?
I'm great. I had like a fantastic week with my son. He had the reading week last week, so he was home
Mm-hmm.
all week, and savoring every moment of it because I know like after Christmas he's gonna start a job probably because right now it's been kind of smooth sailing. He had
Yeah,
money set aside, so the first term he kind of took to ease into it,
yeah.
but then starting in January he's gonna have to find a job and so I'm not gonna see him as often, so I'm savoring every moment I can.
And like I keep saying, savor every moment because sadly the uh the date of my son's passing of well his first anniversary is coming up. So that's what I keep saying. You know what? You never know,
Yep,
and savor every moment because we have no idea
yep,
how long any of us have. So yeah, definitely savor every moment. That's my big
a-
message all the time.
absolutely. So we had a show plan, and then we had a change of plan.
Yeah.
This morning, we got an email. Our guests were not able to make it. It was we were supposed to be having the city. What is it? The city housing.
Housing and oh my god, I can't. Isn't that awful? I'm like completely. But
Anyways,
anyway,
it
that
doesn't
we
matter because they're not coming anyway. So
but we will hopefully have them in the future. So it's like a last minute thing. We've got the boys on trying to come up with a subject. And by the way, my daughter loves the show that we do with the guys because she
okay.
always
Yeah, I
says
get a lot of good comments about
she
this.
says she never knows which way it's going to go and how what's going to come out and what comments she'll hear. So today, guys, it's really we don't know which way it's going to go and what's going to come out.
Right?
So it's going to be interesting. I'm
So I
actually
have
excited.
Ivan backstage right now. I'm still waiting on Steven, but I'm going to bring Ivan in a minute. Before we start, though, I want to express and give our most sincere condolences to Sarah Good, who
Yes.
has lost her niece to fentanyl and overdose. So I think that's going to be one of the topics we're going to touch
Yep.
on today. But our most sincere condolences to Sarah and her family. All
And I
right,
don't.
Stephen is there. So here we go. I'm
Oh,
going to
good.
bring the boys on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank gee willikers.
Okay, we're live. So, how
Keep
are
it to G
you?
Willikers.
Gee Willikers. I like that one. That's a new one.
It was popular in
Ah,
Mayberry.
Good
Also,
morning, Stephen. Are you doing all right today?
I'm doing all right. I just at these, I'm really not computer literate. I go downstairs, figure and give myself enough time, and then that stupid thing down there starts freezing on me. So I come upstairs. This thing takes 20 minutes to load up. It's like, and I know people are waiting, and I say, oh. And one thing, as I will attest to, I do not like to be late, and I don't like people being late. So it's like,
I'm with you on that. My Lisa and
so
I have feuds all the time
yeah.
because she's
So
always fashionably late.
well, the few times I haven't been, there's a couple of times you were. So gee Willikers. Gee Willikers.
the word of the day.
Oh, yeah, it is. I like it.
So, we were just talking before you jumped on, Stephen. We were talking about what topic to talk about because we're kind of left high and dry today. But I was just expressing that one of our newly elected city councilors, Sarah Good, lost her niece to fentanyl over the weekend, and we were thinking that we should be talking a little bit about this crisis that we have in Cornwall, and also my lease was discussing about teenagers and how it is to raise a teenager today as opposed to what it was 20, 25, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So we can
So,
touch on
so
that as
let's call the show Life, Death, and Everything in Between.
there you go.
There we
Uh, well, I read that about Sarah's niece, and that's really sad. You know, like such a young lady, and to be lost that way. But there is a problem with the drugs, and this drugs being laced is what's happening to a lot of them.
Mhm.
Also, it's not so much they're going out looking for this stuff, but it's the people wanting to make more money on them and putting less stuff in. But right now, Cornwall has quite a few problems going on, like with the drugs and like the drugs and the homelessness, like the subject was supposed to be this morning, but or not homelessness, but housing. So we have a multitude of subjects we could pick on Cornwall if we want this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all tied in together. Like it's
You mentioned something about the drugs earlier. Now, I'm not sure on fentanyl, but I know that when things are not done in a pharmaceutical approach, so there's a certain dosage attributed to so many tablets, but when they're made in someone's back room, one tablet might contain so many more milligrams than the
Yeah.
other one because it's not evenly distributed. So people, even though they can pull a Kurt Cobain and get adjusted to dosages, and when you don't know what you're getting, it's a
no,
lottery
and
every
and
time.
Yeah.
and with fentanyl, the thing with that is that like it takes
Yeah,
very little to
put an elephant to its
overdose.
knees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is like I myself, like I'm so leery on taking anything that I could never even fathom taking something that I don't know what's in it. Like I have a hard time taking a Tylenol. Like so kids that are going out and doing stuff like that. And I was telling Julia too many years ago, I found out, and I'm sure it's still going on. Kids will go to a party with have a bowl, fill it with all kinds of prescription pills,
Yeah.
and then take a swig of alcohol and a handful of pills. Like I'm like, why and how is that even
yeah.
possible? And there's a
It's,
name for that kind of thing. Apparently, it probably still goes on.
Well, there was a song out about that. It was Mother's Little Helpers, where the kids were taking the stuff out of the cupboards, and
Oh,
it's been going on since. Well, I remember back in the '60s, but nobody knew what they were taking then, which was LSD most of the time, and
hmm
smoking your pot and stuff. But now, like I would not want to be a kid out in the world today when, like with your peers and everything else, trying to keep up with them because
yeah.
the drugs are there. It's
well, I
a
worked
scary.
with teens having behavioral problems. I remember one of them telling me, "You don't have to take illegal drugs." He would steal from a corner store, take cold medicine, and then whatever sleeping pills, caffeine pills, make
Oh my
himself a
God.
cocktail and get all whacked out.
Yeah.
So it's not hard if you're wanting to do it. It's there. It's accessible at all times. So I think it has to come from another source to want to not experiment with those things and whatever pain they're going to. I mean, I like the song Hotel California. Some drink to remember, some drink to forget. Whatever the reason is, you do what you do. Um, you're playing with TNT every time, right? Because
hmm
you're not sure, you're not metering it and going, okay, I know it can handle that, because maybe on an empty stomach that day it'll be too much or whatever. So the importance of staying healthy and staying away from drugs, and many celebrities, like we'll go to a classic Elvis. You take something to sleep and you take something to wake up, and that becomes a routine.
Yeah.
And what's her name? She was with Bobby Brown. Um,
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston. I mean, there was a beautiful woman, seemed to have it all together, and it got right out of control on, to function daily. And they're people use you. I mean, everything's about money. So you go on a
hmm
concert tour and you perform. You were talking about your 4 a.m. It'd be 4 a.m. Get back on the bus. You got a concert tomorrow again and again and again in another town. You're Toronto and Montreal tomorrow, and
hmm
Nova Scotia the next day, type of thing. Um, They just,
Yeah, they're squeezed like a lemon. Like
yeah.
Well,
it's
Michael Jackson was, I think that was him too.
Well, for yeah, for anyone on
Yep.
tours, like it just, I
Well,
can't imagine it.
Michael Jackson was more because of the pain that he endured from when his hair went on fire, is what started him on drugs.
Oh,
Actually,
okay, okay.
because he was in a lot of pain with that, and from somebody who's been burnt in a fire, I could just barely imagine what it would have been like to have my head on fire rather than my legs. And I could see him taking the drugs, and he took the drugs to ease the pain, but then
Okay.
he had to take the drugs to take care of this, then drugs to take care of that
Yeah.
afterwards. You just end up
On a
on a
roller
treadmill.
coaster. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Here, try this, try that. And when you got a doctor and you got that kind of money, well,
Mhm.
here, I'm going to give you another prescription, another prescription. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
there's nothing
easy
you
to get
can't
addicted.
buy.
So I think we can conclude that whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, drugs seem to be the solution for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Drugs and
Yeah,
alcohol are pain
it's really
relievers.
sad. Like I lost my my two brothers to addiction, and
Oh,
my poor father, like I don't know how he survived this, losing two of his children. And
Wow.
it's yeah, it's but is it worse today than it was back then? Like, is the peer pressure with kids today, with the internet and the
Yeah.
social media and everything they're on, is it worse than it was back then?
Like Julia and I have discussed before, because my 14-year-old, almost 15-year-old stepdaughter is living back with us. She had gone to back to her mother's when she was 11, and now she's back, and it's a change. It's a night and day change. And a lot of it is peer pressure. I am seeing that, because when my kids were younger, there was no cell phones, there was no internet, there was none of that. And Julie and I were discussing, you had a circle of 5 friends. Now you've got a circle of 500 friends or thousands of friends through the internet. So the peer pressure is a lot stronger.
See, I'm not one of those people that believe strong in blaming society for everything. I think that you got to teach the individual to be autonomous right from the get go. I know that
Mm-hmm.
not every child is the same,
Mm-hmm.
but there's strength in making them independent. You teaching them about be resilient to that. And it's tough. It's a tough topic because everybody's susceptible, but it's also easy to go. My friend has it. That's why he did it. That's easy too. So you
Yeah.
have to make sure that your child
It's making the right choices.
well and believes in themselves and are strong enough. And by doing that is not enabling them. There's so many parents that want to make life easy for their kids, but if you
Mm-hmm.
make life easy for your child, it's going to be a hard life because expectations change. It should be easy. I should cruise through everything because mama and dad made it so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so sometimes what I use a lot with is, and what are you going to do about that? Like empower them. Oh, this is my problem. I'm not going to fix it. What are you going to do about it? And then they have to think. And because you do this, and then you send them off to Toronto University, and they don't know how to take a bus. You know what I mean? Like you do
Mm-hmm.
everything, you drive them and then you send them go totally independent, and they go into shock. I know that in some cultures where it's fed education, education, education. They take away all chores, just be the best you can be at school. And then they move away and they don't know how to iron their pants. They don't know how to make crap dinner. And that's what gets them out of school. They can't handle all the rest. They can study and they can be an ace, but they can't do the rest because the rest was all taken away from them. Just study. Mom and dad will handle all the rest. So you gotta like globally fix them up. When we say is life any easier, my dad was raised during the Depression, was a merchant marine at 15, was in the army at 17, and was very hungry between all those things. I have a hard time going, oh no, life is harder now. They only have 5 TVs in the house and
Mm-hmm.
$2,000 cell phones.
But
And
that was not my question. I'm not talking about hardness. Like, we know our kids are cushy.
Mm.
We're making a life way too cushy. I had this discussion with my 18-year-old a few weeks ago, and yes, we make their lives way too cushy.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that we grow in a hardship, right? Like, if it's hard, you learn to survive, you learn to adapt, you learn a whole bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
Parents today make kids' lives way too cushy. This everyone gets a trophy mentality. is not
Yep.
like it's not doing anybody any good. Like I fear for 20 years ago when the streets are in shambles and they need repairing, like nobody wants to work anymore, like But my question was about more peer pressure, specifically as you know let's say a kid has had trauma in their lives early on, so they're already more prone to getting into drugs and alcohol and all that jazz.
Hmm.
And then you throw in the factor of being picked on at school and
Yep.
having 500 social media friends who tell you kill yourself, or
Mm.
having, like, that's a very different level than what we had when we grew up.
Yep.
Like I had three friends that I
Yep.
hung out with all the time, and nothing else. Like I didn't have all this bombardment
Yep.
of messages going at me.
All right, but the awareness is so much better now. We didn't have a safe space to go to back in the day. We didn't have the awareness. There's a movie about a woman in 1974 blew her brains out on TV. She was a newscaster. The way we treated depression back then and all that, compared to how we invest in mental health now. So there's a flip side. I
Yeah.
mean, someone
Yeah.
says, "Oh, I'm anxious," and the world changes. It's not I'm nervous or I'm fearing for tomorrow's presentation. Or we use these keywords to get a whole lot of attention. I hear what you're saying. We're exposed to more numbers, but there's also more intervention than there was
Yeah.
40
You're
years
right.
ago. I remember hearing, what was the expression, Mai-Liis, they used to say when someone was a burnout, but before that, he had a nervous breakdown. And as a
Nervous
kid, I'd
breakdown.
hear that, oh, the guy down the street had a nervous breakdown. And I'm
Yep.
like,
Ah,
what the heck is a nervous breakdown,
Yep.
And
Yep.
we didn't even use the word depression. It was a nervous breakdown. So you just pictured it.
Yeah.
Um,
Cowering in a
but
corner somewhere.
yeah, like, so, life is overwhelming at times, no matter where you are and how well equipped you are. And everybody has a different level of vulnerability.
Hmm.
I often think of back in the days of slavery, the oppression that people in Mississippi and Alabama had to put up with and not fight back and not retaliate, and how did or prisoners of war, or like those circumstances made for exceptionally strong people. I'm not
Yeah.
saying they were well in the head afterwards, but my God, you got to be stoic to want to put up with
survivors,
that every day.
for sure.
So,
But I'm gonna pick your brains, because I'm because you're saying we have all this all these resources available now.
Yeah.
But right now I'm dealing with an issue with one of my kids, my 14-year-old, and they've been diagnosed with anxiety, and they've been recommended to see a therapist. Well, I have no clue where to begin to find them someone to talk to. Like I don't know where to go. Like I called this morning. I called the mental health facility there on McConnell. They're going to call me back in a couple of
but
days. I know there's going to be a whole long wait for them to see somebody there. Like,
Hmm.
where do I go when you need?
so
Immediate
so in every
assistance.
school board, there's already mental health teams
They don't
there.
want to talk to somebody at school. They're
No,
they're
but you
afraid of
could,
the stigma.
right? But well, you could start by asking the principal, who do they refer to, and there's probably a different way in. I know that every school has a mental health team, not necessarily in place, but services.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I would start with that. There's waiting lists everywhere. You're right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can go to, well, anyways, well, 14 is a tough age too, because it's almost the end of childhood. So like l'équipe psychosociale sees young kids, and then so 14, 15, 16, 17, like they'll see them till they're 17, 18, and then it becomes adult services and stuff like that. So your child's in grade 9.
online. I wanted, like, they wanted to see somebody online, but because there are some nice services that you can sign up to online, and yeah, there's a fee, but still you can see a counselor online, but they don't take under 16.
Oh
So I
my.
can't I can't have
What,
them register there.
Bounce
what
back,
about
Steve.
that's exactly what I was going to say. What about bounce back?
Bounce back is kind of good, but for the one-off thing, because they don't get to talk to the same counselor
Uh, uh,
over and
yes,
over.
they do. If
They
I'm
do?
not mistaken, they get to talk to the same counselor. Once they're assigned one, that counselor checks with them every week or 2 weeks, whatever the interim is. But I would check more into the bounce back because I believe, and because I talked about that with Angel D'Alessio and from CMHA, and I believe they get the same person all the time. It's
Okay.
not,
'Cause
you're
Okay.
not going to get different counselors. But also in town here, we also have the youth hub that is helping kids right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on
Over
Pitt,
on,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
think
would be
it's
your go-to
212.
for now, I would think.
I think it's
Good
212
idea.
Pitt, if I'm not mistaken. But they're there for not just for kids that are suffering from anxiety or depression or whatever, for kids in general. So to give them a little bit of guidance.
Hmm.
They also have health nurses going in, so it's all aspects, mental health and physical health, and they can see them in the evening. So check
Yeah,
out, they have a website you can
We'll
check
check
out.
that out.
It has a schedule on who's going to be there when, so they have someone to talk to. And it's younger people working with them too. It's not young fellows
yeah.
like Steve and I.
It's pure. It's
Hey,
They feel
it's
more
pure lead,
comfortable.
isn't it?
what's
Isn't
that?
it pure lead? It's all
Pure
peer
lead.
support there
No, no. There
or
are
supplements.
professionals there too that will see them. But there are support. They did, I believe, start a support group amongst themselves. Yeah.
Um,
Good to
Also,
know.
the place is nice. I've been there. They have like all, you know, video games and board games, and they're kind of set up for like a nice
That would
place
be your
for children.
segue, Julia, to get other services as well.
Right. Yeah, I'll
You
I'll
know,
I'll try
the
that. Thank
ground
you.
level thing, grassroots type of
Good
thing. So
idea. Good idea.
but you're talking about the peer pressure today compared to back in the day. I think it's because like growing up in the 60s when the love and drug generation, I think it goes back to the individual person also. I never did drugs. I smoked pot 4 times in my whole life. And it wasn't because my mother was hovering over me saying, you don't do it. It was because it wasn't for me. And I hung
Hmm.
around with people that didn't do drugs.
Yep.
So, if your kids are going to hang around with people that are into it, they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think you can't choose your kids' friends, but you can guide them away from it a bit more. And and although I don't believe in parent helicoptering in today's day, I believe that parents should know who their friends are, who their kids' friends are,
Hmm.
because it's not the same as back in my day. Back in my day, we'd leave home at 8 o'clock in the morning, come back home, and the lights went on, and everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
Today, you don't know anybody. You don't know your neighbor next door to you.
No,
No, you're
like
right.
they've asked me, can I go for a sleepover with this and this person? I'm like, I don't know these people. No, you're not going to a sleepover until I meet their parents. Like I'm
That's ex-
sorry,
that's exactly how it was when my kids were little too. I knew all the friends, but we lived out on the outskirts of Cornwall too, so we always had to drive them in, and I always knew where they were going, and I always wanted to meet the parents like you. So you know who they're hanging around.
and I think
But
you can still do that. I mean, that's important. You still do that.
yeah,
You find
but
out.
we as parents we have so much more to monitor or worry about than there was back then. Like my parents had to worry about TV. That was pretty much it. That was
Mhm.
what I was getting fed was the TV. Now with the internet, like you never know what they're watching, who they're talking to, what they're doing. Like there's TikTok and Snapchat and like,
Yeah.
they're everywhere, they're on everything. And like
And
Well, so,
that thing is
my kids
permanently in their hands.
last year on TikTok, a guy blew his brains out.
Yeah.
And the video was there and they had a hard time getting the video off because it kept being shared, right? So it was everywhere. And like you don't want your children to, so I told them, I said, you're not on TikTok until this is resolved, get
Hmm.
get it off your device. But like if I hadn't heard about it, if I hadn't known about it, like they could have fell on this thing and seen somebody.
so someone mentioned that in men's group last week was that, you know, back in Vietnam War was the first one we were kind of seeing almost live. The first
Hmm.
time that things were televised almost live. And now if you have a murder in Louisiana, you hear
It's
about it 12 seconds later on your device.
Mhm.
where when it was national news, we probably wouldn't hear about a death somewhere else. So, or the thing was the creeper with the white van. Well, all of a sudden, if it goes on Louisiana and people are worried about the white van in Cornwall, and,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So we're amping up that anxiety, and you should try and calm it, despite making children aware. But you're getting fed that, and it's like, well, be careful, but it should be okay. So it's a tough message to send the kids, because really things, you have to know that most kidnappings and stuff are family. It's people you know. It's not this when a stranger calls. Like
Mhm.
it's rare,
Mhm.
but with all the exposure, as you said, Julia, they fear everything, and parents are
Yep.
like, be careful who you talk to. And I was telling them in the same group that when I was in kindergarten, they had a cardboard canoe with her name, address, and phone number in
Yeah.
case we got
Oh my
lost,
God.
someone could drive us home. And
Yeah.
how that's changed today to stranger danger,
Like,
don't talk,
don't
look
put your
down, walk
address
by.
anywhere.
Yeah. Don't
And I
even
don't know
put
what's
your name
better.
out
I
there.
grew up confident that people you can trust.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, some people get burnt along the way, but that everybody be worried for the 3% that might. I don't know what's better. I don't know. I mean, if someone's been affected by stuff, and I did see like grown men who had been abused as children sexually, and all this, the impact it's had is for life. It does cause relationship problems, addiction, all of that. Um, but, and I don't want to say but, and that everybody leaving their house has to walk like this because, oh, he looked at me. What does he want? Is he after me? I don't think we're doing the children a favor there either. So I don't know what the balance is. I, like you, Mai-Liis, lived out of town. When I was a kid, we lived in St. Andrews. We had the general store. So I was exposed to a gazillion people every day. I worked at the
Mm.
store. We had a little farm, all this kind of stuff. It wasn't stranger danger. It was, that's the guy in the seventh concession, third white house
Yep.
on the left. You know what I mean?
So
So
what happened? Like, what happened, do you think?
Technology.
Is it
Exactly.
technology? Because,
Yeah.
like, you're right. Like, I freak out if my kid, like, my kid is 14 now, so I got them a phone, so they can,
Are you
but
tracking him on? Are you
for
tracking them
me,
on the phone?
not for them. Like, really.
Are
'Cause,
you track? Are you
absolutely.
tracking them?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. Well, I don't know, cuz I'm not at ease if like
takes
If you
2
don't
minutes
know
to
where
get
they are.
pregnant, by the way. So good luck
oh
tracking
no,
everything.
that's not what I'm worried about.
Actually,
Oh,
I'm
well,
more
there's a
worried
mother.
about
I'm not
human
worried about her getting
trafficking.
pregnant. I don't care about that.
I
I'm
just want to know where she is at all
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
I'm worried about human trafficking more than anything else,
Yeah.
Well,
just
that is a
because we
problem in
are we
Cornwall.
are in Cornwall after all,
Yeah.
so yeah, and they're very little. My kids are very little for their age. They're easy to snatch. Like, I shouldn't say that on the show.
Hey, hey, yeah.
I shouldn't
That's
be
not
saying
good.
that
You
on
No.
a
said
show.
that, but I mean, that being said, has there been any abductions in Coral that made the news in the last year?
Not that
I
we
haven't
know
heard of
of.
any.
No,
No.
no.
So I think that's the thing. We hype the fear. Like I said, something happens in Alabama or Louisiana, and we're like, oh, well, it could happen here, and not. And anxiety is transmitted from a parent to a child. If you're the type of parent that checks all the windows, locks the door twice, gets back out of the car, checks the door again, your
Mhm.
kid will grow
Hey,
up
I'm
like that.
preparing for nuclear war right now, so
Still digging the bomb shelter.
yes,
Well,
sir.
you're right though, Ivan. This anxiety thing, it's not the same. I'm not going to talk about kids, but when I was working at Astro and in the winter, there was, weather warning, freezing rain, this and that. You're inside, there's nothing going on, and they're putting that into your head that it's going to
Yeah,
be bad, it's going to be treacherous. You go out there and you're scared to drive home, yet there's nothing going on.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
that
How many snow days
hype.
did we have last year that we
Oh my
never even
God,
had
that is
snow?
insane.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane.
Nothing happened yet. There were schools were closed.
Yeah,
They
let's
were
talk
all
about that,
well.
Steve, because when I was in high school, the bus would get stuck in the snow. Everybody jump out and
I'm
push it.
pushing.
Today,
Yeah.
oh no, little Johnny might get strained, get a hernia, whatever, or might lay under a tire because he's stupid. I don't know, but we're so
This is
safe and so like
Yep.
well,
bubble
it's
wrap.
lawsuit, Ivan. It's lawsuits, I
You're
believe.
I
right.
get it. I get it. We've become, that's what someone told me. We've become more like the the U.S.
The US, yeah.
I had
Oh,
an event. I think Mai-Liis was there. It was Vive Cornwall,
Mm-hmm.
and we had inflatables, and we were getting questioned, how safe are inflatables? Your
Yeah.
kids on air. How safe is the inflatable? You know, how close to the river is it? Like, I mean, and I'm telling you, like my
How
parents were
close to
raised
the
in that
river?
generation. There was no child labor laws then. They were working at 11. My dad was working in a slaughterhouse with very sharp knives at 11 years old. My mother was washing floors at the hospital. They were 11, 12 years old. And today it's like, is if my kid's going to be okay on an inflatable? You know, I wonder why they're nervous.
And I have a camper van, okay, which I took to Cornwall a few weeks ago. And when I was coming back home, I passed on Marlborough, and there was a couple there that I know. So as I went by, I tooted the horn. Now these are adults, and one of them started panicking because it was somebody in a van tooting to them. It's like,
Oh my Lord.
Or they really knew it was you, Stephen Duras.
maybe, no, I doubt it.
Who drives an 18 van and an 18 van in this day and age? Being
It's like, and I was
You're up
told
to
by
no
them,
good.
don't ever toot your horn again at us when you're in the van. It's like, come on, like it's
probably that bumper sticker in the back there. If the van,
What
isn't
does it
rocking,
say?
don't bother knocking. Maybe it's that that makes you nervous.
Oh boy.
Well, in a van. I mean, it used to be somebody on a motorcycle with a tinted visor would drive by, wave to you, and you had no idea who it was. I mean, they could actually see you in the van, I'm sure. Oh, wait, Ivan, that might have been the problem.
well, thank you very much.
Get
Okay.
tinted
My
windows next
confidence
time.
right
It'll
up.
be fun.
But yeah, I mean, it used to be way back. Everybody would wave to everybody and toot the horn, and and on a motorcycle, you didn't even know who the person was until afterwards.
But that is city living, okay? Like in the city now, people are afraid to wave to each other. I'm out in the country, and there's not
Mm,
a car goes by here. If I'm out by the side of the road, they toot, they wave. I have no idea who they are, but it's a little bit more friendly. And
yeah,
what bugs me is when you go into the city, whether it's Montreal, Ottawa, or Cornwall, whatever, you go in. Cornwall's not quite so bad, but in Montreal, if you look at somebody and you say good morning, hello, they kind of look at you. What do you want? Whereas in
hmm
Cornwall, you get more of an answer, good morning, and back. But it's like,
It depends on the neighborhoods too, Steve. I've been in different places in Cornwall where everybody says hi, and there are other places where you're best not to say hi.
yeah,
Who are you? What do you want? Like,
It's like, yeah.
yeah.
but that's a whole other story.
Would you say it goes with income status?
In part,
Yep.
sad to say, but
Yeah, it
the
is.
Yeah.
bigger the yard, the friendlier the people.
Yeah.
When they're stacked up real tight, it comes back to my thing with put two cats in a box, give it a shake, and little things get intense pretty quick.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like when I
I've
divorced, I moved to Montreal Road, and it took a while for me to fit in the hood there. I was just in the apartment in the meantime. And yeah, you got a different look when people checked you out in a different way. It wasn't, hey, howdy, how neighbor. It was like, but I mean, eventually, you got to know everybody, and everything
yeah.
was fine again.
Yeah.
It's just that inclusion takes time for
Yeah,
anyone.
I
and
remember that too, though, because I moved from like Headline, then to Northwoods Glen subdivision, J Street, and then on to Fourth. Like completely different. But you were saying,
I
Steve?
have about like I would say maybe I'm not sure how many apartments in the back of us, but there's at least 100. So I have 100 neighbors in the
Yeah,
back of me, and they're not all friendly. I've had a few feuds with some of them.
yeah.
So much for sun tanning in the backyard, Julia.
Oh yeah, no way.
Well, I'm trying to visualize that. It's not a pretty picture. Sorry,
Jeez,
I,
thanks.
I
sorry,
come from down,
Julia.
Puts a whole new
Are
version
you
of the
telling me
secrecy.
I'm like, that's
I,
scary?
I just know how Ivan thinks. That's why I.
Oh, yeah. Put the blame back on me.
Yeah. It's
That's
Ivan.
okay, Julia. In my mind, I got a perfect visual. Let's
Thank
carry on.
you. Thank you.
Okay, Stephen, quickly, what were you going to say? Let's change the subject.
I come from downtown Montreal in like the ghetto of Montreal when I was being brought up.
Where?
And
I'm
I
curious.
Saint Henri, Little Burgundy.
Okay, I was in Saint Michel.
Okay. And we
Saint
moved
Henri
from,
wins.
but we always said that my stepfather made a score in a crap game. My father made a score in a crap game, and we moved to LaSalle, which was,
Okay.
Moving on
a
up.
step
Yeah.
up. And but when we moved to LaSalle, the people didn't talk to you there. They were more uppity because they were richer.
Mhm.
Whereas in Little Burgundy, everybody was friends. And what you alluded to before about the goes with the salary, when it all depends on where you're coming from. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you
I
grew
go in,
up there.
I don't put my nose down to anybody. I don't care if you're rich or poor or whatever. And I don't care who you are. I'm going to say hello to you. If you don't say hello back, that's your loss. It's and I look at people, I give them a smile and hello and walk away. And I think it's what we need more in this world is more people saying hello, because then
Yeah.
people won't be afraid to say it. And I think
Mhm.
that's the fear right now. Oh, I can't say nothing to this one. He's liable to slap me upside the head as he gets past me. So, but I'm not afraid of getting hit.
I purposely, when I go walking, I do. I say hi. It's a nice day. Some people react and say something. I find a lot of younger kids though, they're shocked, like that somebody's actually talking to them.
I think there's even a gender thing there. I think it's okay
Mm.
for you to talk to a 9-year-old girl and say hello, and I don't know if I would, because it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
stranger
exactly.
danger. 6-foot
Exactly.
man cruising a little 9-year-old. Run!
He's in a white
There's
van.
a bounce guy running after me.
Wait,
Yeah.
we'll follow him. Let's see what vehicle he gets in. Oh, it's not a van. We're okay.
We're good.
It's a white van. Stay away from that one.
Yeah,
But it's
Oh,
true.
and it's
You're
funny
right.
that media, like even movies and stuff, still propagate that stereotype, right? Like I've just recently seen a movie called Black Phone, and that's it. They shove the kids in in the back of a van. So
Well,
maybe it
so
was
picture
Steven.
this. You know the little water park there at Lamoureux Park?
Mhm.
You know
The splash pad.
the splash pad. Like if Steve and I were to sit in the park bench and stare at those
Oh
kids,
yeah.
game over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe we're looking beyond that, but like,
Yeah.
well, my thoughts are, I'm not going to sit there and stare forward. Like, look at your phone, read a newspaper, and get the hell away from there. You don't. It's sad that we think that we have to think that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But middle-aged man sitting there watching kids play. Oh, what bigger taboo?
Yeah,
And,
you're
and
right.
see,
That's true.
You're right.
and you see me, I don't worry about things like that. Maybe I should, but I don't. Like if I was
Especially
in
if you have a
Lamoureux Park,
van.
yeah, I got the van, I got
I saw
everything.
the wanted poster, Steve. I think you better lay low for a bit.
And I always got candy in my glove box, so
That's even worse.
It's funny.
All right. Remember,
there's a-
he's from Saint Henri. He's got an excuse.
there's a van like we used to go hiking with the kids every Sunday, and we used to go to Brockville quite a bit, and there was a van over there that's always parked on the two there, and it says free candy. I was
Oh
like,
my
wow,
Lord.
that is so weird. That is so weird. Like, yeah.
Well, with Halloween coming up, you should watch Jeepers Creepers, because there's quite the little van in that movie. You know what I mean?
That's a good movie.
Or Joyride, Candy Cane.
Jeepers Creepers. I gotta write
Jeepers
that down.
Creeper. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't watch that type of movies.
Oh, I
doesn't
watch
watch
I
only
don't
that.
like creepy movies. We were talking about that the other night, and I'm not into horror movies or
Oh,
creepy
I am.
movies.
Me
Oh, no.
too.
Me too.
Me
I
not
love
so
it.
much. It depends what it is. Yeah, those kind. But when it gets to be too much with the supernatural or, Satan and all that kind of stuff, those peak me out a little too much. And Rosemary's Baby, that kind of stuff. I can watch sloshers there and that kind of stuff, or whatever.
Yeah,
Alien or
that kind of stuff doesn't freak me out. It's stuff that could be real, like
Yeah, well, that's it.
realistic
So if
stuff.
I
That
watch
freaks me
Alien,
out.
I can watch that, or Friday the 13th, all that. But the terror psychological ones where body possessions or paranormal events, and then you go to bed and you see your sock move. Ah!
You wouldn't have liked the one I've seen on Friday. Then it's called "Pray for the Devil," and
No,
it's
Ooh.
about
I
possession.
don't deal with the devil very well.
Yeah, me
I
The
work
neither.
Chri-
with them. I
the
work with them
Christian
most of the time.
upbringing.
What I find today though is very honestly, okay, we laugh and go on here, but I find compared to when I was growing up, the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, people don't laugh like they used to. And
You're
it's actually a
right.
gentleman at the group the other night or one night said that it's been so long since he had a belly laugh. And like we used to have them all the time, like there was
Yeah.
always somebody doing something stupid enough that you would crack the whole room up. And now I don't find that you have that.
That was the
Uh,
alcohol at the
Yeah.
parties that we
But not
used to
only
drink.
that, we were
no,
allowed to
no,
bust
I'm
each
off the
other.
hook for that because I never drank and I never did drugs, so it wasn't that what got me laughing. It was this foolery that we did, and we were all
But
fools at the time.
we could tease each other to the point, embarrass
Yes.
someone, and that was all part of the game. We'd bust each other's, you know what, and that's where you'd get the belly laugh, where you really like burned one of your friends, and that
Mhm.
would be hilarious. But today we have to be sensitive to his needs and
The,
not say his thighs are thick. So we got to be careful.
the only belly laugh I have is once a month when you guys come on the show with us. Like that's when we have a good laugh. We really enjoy it because we never know what we're going to chat about and
Yeah.
laugh about.
That's the beauty of the Seeker. It's 7 minutes and we're on. What do you want to talk
Yeah.
about today? Go.
we have no time to think about it. Let's just go with the flow.
Let's just go with the flow.
Yeah,
And then
What did you call it? Life, death, and everything in between.
that's it. That's it.
and whose computer's going to screw up this week?
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
usually
yeah,
Julia's.
It's usually mine. Usually mine just dies. My internet. It's been good.
Don't
Thank
talk
God it's
about
been
it.
good.
Don't say anything.
No.
We're 45 minutes and everything is perfect.
No, but it's been good throughout the elections. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was
Well,
an interesting
it's
time.
strange. This computer is the farthest away from my modem
Router.
yeah, and I have no trouble. The one downstairs is plugged into the router.
Hmm.
Funny.
And I
Did you
got
say
all
Rooter
kinds of
earlier,
crappy
Steve?
problems.
Router.
That
Router
goes
is a
somewhere
different
else.
tool.
That's
That's
my
the roto
proctologist has a rotor
Wait,
rooter.
that's wait, there's your problem, Stephen. You're plugged into the router, not the router. No,
Yeah. That'll get you in trouble. Only
You'll
go
get
where
you
no
every
man has
time.
gone
You're
before. Can
you're
we say that
plugged
on
in
the
the
air?
wrong
Nah,
device.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna have
Tighten up,
coffee.
Bell. I'm gonna have a belly laugh. My Lisa's gonna spit into her mug and drink it all back in. That's
We're
good.
all over the
You're a
screen.
class
I'm
act,
waiting
my
for it to
Lisa.
come to get me.
Oh my God.
But
Ugh.
talking of computers,
All
so
right.
this year, well, maybe last year too, or the last time, the elections were computerized. And I had a friend who waited in line forever, filled in his thing, and when he got to put the card in, it rejected it.
Hmm.
So he was told, well, you can try again, but you got to go back to the back of the line and do it. And he was steaming. He was mad as hell that his vote didn't count because the
Mhm.
computer said so. And yet he claims he picked 3 councilmen and one mayor. It should have passed.
He
And
picked the wrong ones. That's
Oh,
what
maybe he
Well,
circled outside of the lines.
I don't know. I think he can do
Or-
the lines, but
Yeah,
yeah.
well that was the one thing this year. There would have been more votes, I think, if it was computerized.
Well, it was computerized.
I
was
mean
computerized.
online.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Online,
online.
Voting online
Online,
is
online
a thing
voting.
they should definitely bring
Yeah,
in. Like,
Yes.
what a turnout! Like, it's pathetic.
10,100
10,000?
votes, something like that, out of 47,000.
Well, wait a minute.
Well,
Out
no,
of
not
47,000,
not
you got all the
47,000.
kids. You got,
Oh, yeah,
you
no,
know
No,
what I mean?
32,000 is about what we have
Yeah,
eligible voters. So it's 1/3.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I didn't even think there's that
1/3.
many.
Yeah, it's actually pretty high for
Well,
for
you know, they
47,000
have to leave the
population.
home, and you don't know if the guy with the white van is out there. So
with the
best
candies. Yeah, with the
just wish
candies.
the vote made it there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I am so very sorry. continue on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're totally off the original topic. I don't even remember what it was. But
Life, death, and everything in between.
well,
So
okay,
we
we've
started
covered.
talking about children. Well, we talked about the fentanyl, the drugs, and then raising children, and then the anxiety, and then mental illness, and then the awareness, and then the influences on the outside. Were you with us, Mai-Liis, at any point?
Well, then we threw in we threw in scary movies and Steve's van with the candies in the
Steve
glove
Van.
compartment.
See,
I
it
do
all comes
remember
back to
that.
Steve.
Yeah, I remember that, and the bumper
She got the candy the last time.
The candy, the bumper sticker. Need we say more? Man with white hair, white van, bumper sticker, candy.
honking at everybody on the street. I don't know.
And it's Halloween. Steven's best night.
Yeah, speaking of Halloween, it's tonight. It's
It is.
exciting. So you're gonna have all those little kids outside running around. The weather's perfect because for some reason, when it was Halloween, when my kids were young, it was always miserable. Oh my God,
Rawr.
you modeled that upon yourself. Like you followed your own face on that one. I like it.
Ouch! Huh?
The
All
only
right,
difference
if
is
we
Wait,
want to
this one's got a
play,
handle.
brace yourself.
I'm full of compliments today for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with me.
No, I don't. I don't celebrate Halloween. Well, where I am, anyways, there's no kids.
Yeah,
Uh,
it used to be like that where I was too. Always
Well,
on
none
the
that make it
outskirts.
past the house, anyways, right,
Oh.
Steve?
The first year we were here, and that's going back to like 22 years ago. I think we got about 8 kids,
Mhm.
and the following year we got 1, and it was a friend of mine brought his daughter up, and then that was it. We've never seen any other kids at the door. Of course, I got the guard dogs at the end of the driveway to keep them all out growling.
And the gargoyles too. The gargoyles
Yeah,
at the end of the
exactly.
driveway is kind of the scary part. People don't want
And
to
I
come up.
bought Mary a new broom so she could fly around the yard and scared them off. Actually, I was in one of the
He's
stores
being
in
brave
Cornwall last
today.
week, and I bought 2 brooms, and I got to the cash, and the woman says, "Oh, 2 brooms." I said, "Yeah, my wife's going away on the weekend, and she's taking her sister with her." I said, "So I want to make sure to."
Transportation.
I thought they were one for you and one for your wife, actually.
No, 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 no. I don't fly the broom. I just plug them in.
See, Steve is modern. He flies around on a vacuum.
Yeah. Wait, I'm trying to see. I'm picturing that visual too. I don't know. There's a lot of visuals today.
Warlocks don't fly on brooms. Only witches.
Oh, okay. So what
We
do
just
you?
the-
Well, so what do you fly
Yeah,
on? No, I'm
exactly.
just kidding.
I'm there.
we teleport.
That's true. Yeah, it's been a long time since my kids were trick or treating, so it's kind of exciting to see them all out tonight. And the weather's nice too, thank goodness. Because for
It's
some
always,
reason, when my kids were young, trick or treating, it was like snow was coming down, and you had to put their coats on and the costumes on top, and 10 pairs of gloves, and we were always frozen. But it seems to be nice today. Hopefully, it'll
The
stay like
times they
that.
are changing.
yeah. Well, I remember one time with the kids too. They had snowsuits on. It was snow. We took them out in the sleigh to go trick or treating. So I mean, it's the time of year where it could go either way. And there's other times we were very warm as well. So we get roughly about 40 kids here. But I always wonder. There's always this 6'2", 240-pound kid that comes to the door with a really bad costume. What's the cutoff? What do you think should be the cutoff? Grade
Well,
9, grade 10?
Yeah, but exactly, what should be the cutoff? I mean, there's older kids that come around here too. The young kids come, and then the older ones come around 8, 9 o'clock, knocking on the door.
I think as long as they're child enough to go out, they should be allowed to go out.
Okay, well, what about the mother who says, I have 2 babies at home, and she pulls out her bag? And
No, that's a little bit different. It's either the kids or nothing.
Well, you're not gonna know because I'm 5 feet. I'm gonna wear my Michael Myers mask, and you're not gonna know that I'm an adult.
do you know what the Michael Myers mask is based on?
What?
It's William Shatner's face, and they just spray
Really?
painted the mask white.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
from Star
wow,
Trek
that's a
there.
cool.
I'm
I
looking
can
at
see
Ivan.
it.
I'm looking at Ivan's face, and I can never tell if he's kidding or not.
No, I'm serious.
No, I can see it now
So
that you mention it.
John Carpenter, he did like the original movie, that White House. They just spray painted everything white. It was an abandoned house. Like he did that on a really tight budget, that whole movie, and it's a classic that's lasted forever. Like they're still running. There's a new Halloween movie out. Jamie Lee Curtis is getting close to 70 or whatever. And
Wow.
still the scream queen of the decade.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show how wild I am. I found out yesterday, or was it Saturday night, who Michael Myers was. I had no
Oh,
idea.
my.
I thought it was his neighbor.
No, people were talking about
With a van.
Michael Myers, but so I had to ask. I said, "Who the heck is Michael Myers? I've never heard of him." And then even Mary knew who it was. It's like, okay.
That's because you're in your basement too much. You got to come out, Stephen.
No,
Unplug from the
van.
router and
Yeah, I'm flying from
There's
the
Michael
router.
Myers and there's Mike Myers, a Canadian comedian. So don't get them confused.
yeah,
Steve.
different.
No,
Austin
usually
Powers.
I'm in my van. That's why I don't cruise in the street.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, so that was a mental health on McConnell who just called back. So
Oh.
I
Okay.
wanted to take it because so that was quick.
Well, that's because they were watching the show earlier.
You're like getting bad publicity. Tune in now.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's what it
super quick.
was. I still remember, though, talking about Halloween, the one year, I mean, dressing up and how old should you be? I went out with my kids and I was dressed as a yellow bumblebee and I had my little things on my head and stuff. And we stopped in. This shows how long ago it
Well,
was.
Mai-Liis
We
was
used-
always a stinger.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
That
you.
was another thing.
Yes. We stopped in at Becker's. I mean, Becker's is way back when.
Yeah.
And my kids were they were saying like if you've got a Halloween costume on you can get candy. So I'm going in there. My kids are going, you are not going in there. I said, watch me, I got candy.
No.
I got candy.
But they were so embarrassed too. So my oldest son was like about, I don't know, he was little, and he says, you're not going in there, you're not going in there dressed like that, Mom. I got candy.
When I was a kid, where I lived in St. Henri, there was a tavern on every corner and a church on every other corner. And
Catholic way.
we would, yeah, exactly. We would go around the block and we would go into the taverns. And the guys at the time, when they would throw pennies in your bag because
Wow.
back then we had pennies and 2 cents you could buy a cigarette, so you'd always get enough.
10 years old, going to get his candy, gets a few pennies, goes to get
Quick
a
with a
cigarette.
joke and delayed up my smoke.
But we would go through all the taverns, into every tavern and get something from them. It was like good days. And now you never
Good
send a
memories,
kid into
Steve. Good
that.
memories.
Now you wouldn't dare go into a tavern because you don't know who's in there at that age.
You were talking before about drugs. It shows how much times have changed. I used to hang around a pool hall, and there was only one guy I know back, and this is back in the 60s. At the time, there was only one person we ever knew about that was a drug addict. Everybody else was clean. This was the only one guy. And unfortunately, he succumbed to his heroin addiction. But that was going back. We never heard of stuff. Today, everybody you talk to knows somebody that's doing it. And I think one of the things that's happened is we've made marijuana legal. So now everybody is trying something. And they're supposed to stop you at 18, or before 18. They're not doing it in a lot of the places. You're getting
What
high
happened
as
to you?
tight.
I don't know. I just suddenly disappeared. So thank God I'm back.
I
She wanted
remember.
to change spots on my screen.
Look, I'm on the other side now.
I remember going to a conference and there was this guy who was a former drug addict, and I remember the key line asking him like what finally made you stop, and he says, I got tired of losing everything. Because you lose your friends, you lose your family, you lose your job,
Yep.
you lose your finances.
Yep.
And I thought, well, that's it. That's what makes the difference. You got tired of losing everything, so you hit bottom, and then there's only one way, and it's up. So that's probably
Yeah.
That's an everyday battle for a lot of people.
It's up
Mm.
or death. Like
Yeah.
sadly, some people never get to that point.
So whoever's out there struggling with drug addiction, I mean, get help as soon as you can. Your life's important, and the people around you. It's not about you, it's about the people you leave behind. So make sure you reach out
Hmm.
and get the help you need, and get started to a healthier life, because it'll take you down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every life is important. You matter. You matter to the people around you.
And that's why when I go for walks, I make a point of saying good morning or hi, or commenting, because that one little comment could make a big difference in
Yeah.
somebody's life.
Yeah, everybody wants to be significant, right? And
Hmm.
that's the thing, when when people are contemplating suicide, they often do this contemplation of whether I'm here or not, does it make a difference?
Yeah.
So, often people who have pets or animals or a purpose, something they have to do. If I don't show up tomorrow, who's going to take care of my hamster? Might even be the difference.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you need to be needed, and so make sure that you reach out to relatives and stuff. COVID kicked the crap out of people for that. A lot of people were communicating, talking to each other, but reach out to an aunt or an uncle that you haven't seen in a while and give them a little talking to. It always warms the heart, right? So.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Here, here.
All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. I like little impromptu topics like that. It goes everywhere. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Spur
we
of the
did a whole
moment thing.
circle.
Yeah, we did.
Started with
Um,
drugs, finished with drugs. Yeah.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, Steve. It looked like Stephen was going to say something. I wasn't sure.
No, no, no.
I was just gas.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, buddy, you owe me one. Okay, I got
Naturally gassed.
Natural.
it. All right, it's been a
All right.
slice. See you next
That's
month.
it for us, Leah. We'll see you next month.
Okay.
Bye.
have yourself a wonderful week. Super
Okay,
duper day.
so my Lise, do you have any events before we leave?
Well, tonight, isn't it the Optimist trunk or treat?
Yes, it is. Starting at 4:30 at Lamoureux Park. There's a trunk or treat. So there's I can't remember how many. I think like something like 7 or 8 businesses that are going to set up in the park. They have their trunk all decorated and they're handing out candies. So if
So,
you're going around, just go and support the Optimist Club. It's all free.
yep, take your kids down and check that out.
Uh-huh. And I was so bummed out because I didn't get to go to the Ghost Walk for charity. I was going to go on Sunday, and
Okay.
then they were their last day was Saturday, so I
Oh,
missed it. I was kind of bummed out. But my daughter went and said it
how
was
did she
awesome.
find it?
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah, Bella ended up going too,
Yeah,
and she really loved it too. And I've heard a lot of good comments. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I really wanted to do it, but I'm like one of these people. You get me in there, and it's dark and creepy, and I don't know if I could
But you love
handle it.
horror movies.
I do, but
Oh, I love it. I love being scared.
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
do.
It makes me feel alive.
So I was like, okay, will I be okay in there? Like things jumping out at me, but I don't know. I guess one of these years we'll have to try it. So,
Yeah.
but my son, my youngest son, out in Calgary, they have Scream Fest, and
Mm.
he was so you go in different houses and people jump out at you or run after you. And for years, he was volunteering at Scream Fest. I think you saw some of the outfits, some of the makeup
Yes,
he had
yes,
on.
yes.
Like, and he was a runner one year. So he was running after people. And if something looking like that was coming running after me, I don't know what I would do because he looks super, super scary.
Okay. So on that note, it is 11 o'clock. So we're gonna let you all go. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day.
Enjoy your Halloween night and have yourself a super duper week.
Bye for now.
Bye.